The title generator in Mamba is a relatively straightforward feature, so just from the Effects tab we can pick Title. Once we double click, we find that it's got its own interface here, and simply we just type into this area to create some text. To change any parameters of the title we're generating, just select and drag and change, for example, the font size settings or the typeface. And we can just build our text in here. Other controls, kerning, the distance between letters with some presets below, leading, which is the distance between lines, and again with some presets, and a slant angle to fake some italics if we don't have it as a particular typeface. And obviously we can change the justification also. If you add more fonts into Mamba, then the first time you run Mamba afterwards, click the Reload Font List button and it'll just make sure that this is all refreshed and up to date. So apart from the functions in this part of the interface, we can also go back to the normal list of parameters, and in here we've got the color of the title, the transparency level, and then various rotations in 3D space, etc. The samples and the arcs are to do with render quality from the vector typefaces. Usually you'll want to put this up a bit higher. And there are a few things in here that we can animate with our type. So for example, reveal, I put my auto key on. This will actually make the type on one character at a time. Or we can also animate the gaps between characters, or between lines, or animate the size of the letters. If we pop back into the title interface, we can see we have functions for creating rollers over here. If I click roll up, what happens is Mamba creates a curve in the Y offset so that for the duration of our shot, the title starts from the bottom of the frame and gets to the top. So effectively all it's done is put in some parameters into the Y curve here. At the moment we're using the title standalone, so we can see it's just creating some titles in the color that we set here and also an alpha channel. If we feed the title with an input shot, then the title will simply key itself over the top. But this isn't the most flexible way of using the title generator because there aren't too many controls of what to do with the text once it's keyed over. So a better way rather would be to use the Comp3D as a compositing node, because then you have access to things like the shadow generator within Comp3D. One thing to notice is if I zoom right in, we can see the text actually has a dark edge on it. This is a standard thing with luminance keying, where the foreground you're keying and the alpha channel are exactly matched. If I look at the title generator directly, we can see that the foreground is anti-aliased, so the very outer edge of this letter actually shades its way down to black, so it would be a dark grey of some sort. And of course the alpha is exactly the same. So that's why we see this dark edge. It's the anti-alias between the white text and the black background. So there's two ways we can deal with that. Either in the Comp3D, we could change the layer mode to pre-multiplied, and that would deal with it. Or the other thing we could do is tell the title generator not to apply the title to the image, but only to the mask. In which case you can see that it generates a flat color, which will be this color here, but the alpha channel still has our text. So now when we go back, we can see that it's a clean key. And if I just toggle between those two, you can see the difference. So generally in Mamba, the way we'd work with type is to use the title generator just to generate perhaps a white on black mask of the type, and then use the other features within Mamba, the filters and so on, to create the style of text that we want. So for example, if I duplicate this image and use it as an input to the title generator, so the title generator is now applying its text as an alpha channel to this, and it's disappeared because it's been keyed over exactly the same image. So if I now change this image, perhaps I'll put a color corrector or something on it, then we can see that as I make a change in here, of course, I've got my text back, because I'm effectively just changing the color of the background through the text. And using this method, we can create all sorts of textures to put inside our text before keying on. We could also use some of the filters that we were playing with in a recent tutorial about filters. So I'm just duplicating up these. So I'm going to put the text back on the image channel and then connect them both up to liquid bump. So you can see the title is already taking on the appearance of sort of a refracted liquid type thing. And again, just as we did a minute ago, I'm just going to duplicate this to key it straight over its original background, because now what we can do is, by animating the blur, we can actually make the title look like it's coming from water drops, because the rebuild key function is on in here, and so the alpha channel is being modified to fit our distorted text. Just going to make another duplication, and this time I'll use another effect we've played with before. So let's use radial blur, and again we'll take an original copy and connect it to those light beams. So again, by combining the various things within Mamba, we can start to create more interesting text animations